Roohee, I'm going to start with you. Tell me a little about your book and tell me where you got the inspiration for this idea.
The book really came from a place of need. Just it's something that I was feeling inside. It was thinking about the elders that I grew up with and missing their presence and their influence and just being in the company of them, and guidance. And I was driving down the street one day visiting a friend, and I looked to my right, and there I was in Inkster. I looked to my right, and I saw a beautiful elder standing in her yard. And I rolled my window down, and I said, "Ma'am, can I talk to you for a minute?" And she said, "Yeah, sure, come on." And I went over and I started a conversation with her. And she said, "Yeah, honey, I'm standing here cutting my front yard and I'm waiting for my niece to come with gasoline so I can cut the backyard." She was beautiful. She had brown skin, silver hair, 93 years old, cutting her grass. And immediately I felt connected to her. And I began to feel like my elders through her and just, embraced by a smile from her heart, okay, and her sincerity, and just from that point, I began to talk to her, and I told her something I really feel I needed inside from her today. And I totally received it from her. And on my way home, after I talked to her and I asked, could I come back and talk to her more? She said, "Sure, honey, we could talk anytime." So I scheduled an appointment with her and I went back and talked to her. But on the way home, I began to think about how I was feeling that day and how I began to get my colors back again and feel better. And I thought that there must be other people who are feeling like this today or just period in the world like me. And I know that there were other outstanding elders throughout the world that I probably need to seek and find so I could try to share with them what I had received that day. So that was my inspiration.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a wonderful story, and it really does reflect the title of the book, "A Generation Found." Right, this idea of rediscovery, this idea of kind of bringing back to the surface these people and their legacies and the stories that they use to shape our world. Carole Hall, tell us a little about you and how it feels to be part of this amazing collection.
This is an unexpected excitement in my life. I met Roohee at a medical center. She was actually drawing my blood. I'm 84 years old. So this was an unusual situation because she said, "I want to talk to you. I need to talk with you." And I thought, this is unusual. About what? And she came to my home and she sat down with me and she told me that she was doing a book on our elders and that she was putting it together. And then, of course, later on, I saw this magnificent book that she put together, beautifully lined, the photography is outstanding. The descriptions of all of us elders is extremely well done. And I realized as I talked to my family, and particularly even now with Cicely Tyson having left us, and realizing the value of finding those beautiful people that have done so much for us. We bury grandmama and granddaddy and we kind of forget what they've done for us, but Roohee has not forgotten that. And she's sharing it. And I think that we need to do it more often. We need to have it open for our great grands so that they can see that we don't sit in that rocking chair with a blanket and go away, that we are here. We can see what they can't see now. I mean, we look at Floyd that, in my judgment, opened the door for us this past year. And to a large extent, we're old enough to see beyond the door now. We can see some things that are happening that my grandchildren can't see yet, that my great-grands can't see yet, but that is coming because we can see that we're growing in spite of where we are today. And because of what Roohee has put together here, we can share even more with the world. It's just a magnificent piece that's very well done.
What parts of your own story, Carole, do you think resonate the most, or should resonate the most with younger people?
I think that the thing that's really critically important to me is that I come from the Hastings era,
Mm-hmm.
where I grew up with Aretha Franklin's family as a kid on Boston Boulevard when they lived on Boston. On Hastings, 4210 Hastings Street was our church. I lived on Willis, 633 East Willis. It's since gone because of I-75. And I was listening to a record by one of a good guy that sings so well. I thought of what the alleys used to look like when I was growing up on Willis, and the horses. There was a horseshoe shoeing place. There were 3 doors from my house, and there was the stench from those horseshoes being shoed every day. And then there was a guy coming down the street with a wagon shouting tomatoes, potatoes, fresh vegetables. My mother and grandmother would go out and buy from that. We came from that. We came from the period where we had to hide underneath the seat and carry a bottle in the car when we had to urinate going to Mississippi and Alabama. I'm from that era. But I'm also from an era that ended up, thanks to Mary McLeod Bethune, who inspired me in the 2nd and 3rd grade to move forward. She said the door would open for us and we would have to be ready, but it wouldn't be open long. And she was right, because it opened up, starting with Eisenhower to some extent, but it began to close with Reagan, and it began to close with Nixon. And we've had to kind of struggle from that era up to where we are now. And the result is that we're now in a new era, and we can see where the struggle has been from Emmett Till to Floyd. Those losses, but there's been where we've been last year, the good trouble, as a good friend has had. So that's basically all Detroit. Went to school in Michigan and then went to school in Boston as well. Mother of 3 sons. And they tell me, and I'm glad to say, none of them have been in jail yet, but it doesn't mean that they have been all good. It just means that we've been very blessed and very lucky and very conscious of the Floyds and what they go through.
Roohee, I wonder if you can talk about the feedback you're getting to the book, both from people who are in it and people of that generation, but also from the younger generation who the book is kind of aimed at as saying, hey, look, this is part of your history. You should know this.
Oh, it has been just, I feel, divine intervention. As far as the elders, I stay connected to all of them as much as I can, before the pandemic, during it, and up until yesterday or today. And I find that it helps because the book is filled with the sung and the unsung. And what it has done, like one of the elders, Mr. Ackland Lynch in DC, he says our generation remains authentic because of this book. Yeah. And it helps me to form a sense of validation. I feel like I've always had that sense with my grandfather. He was a very important person in my life, and you always seek this sense of approval. So I feel like I received that from them. I wanted that first from them, and the feedback that I have been gotten from them has been amazing. Just in my own healing, just receiving just their energy, their strength, their courage, their wisdom. And interesting thing happened. My granddaughter, she was 10 years old, and I showed her the book. And I said, she went through it. She said, oh, wow, Nana. She said, you went and you got all this knowledge, this information from these old people. She said, now when I don't know what to do, I can go and find out what to do. So I was going for that. And I was also going for the elders. Just what do they do from day to day? Not the finished product so much, but just what they think, what they eat, what brought them to where they are today. It was a very organic interview. You know, it was something that had so much power in it. When I talked to Mother Carole, it was just so amazing. I remember someone asked me, they said, well, why didn't you just tape it? Why didn't you? I said, because I wanted to write down. While I was writing down, I could feel her spirit coming through my fingertips. You know, it was just amazing. She has been, I had talked to her from time to time, and she has been such an inspiration. And I have learned so much. I have learned so much, and I am connected to each and every elder in the book. I want you to know that. It's been one of the best experiences of my entire life.
She has been able to chronicle over 40 of us older folks, our histories and what we do kind of for recreation, and the value that we really have for the next generation. And the Generation Z really does need our connection. And she's right. My grandson, my great-grandson at 14 is seeing this, and they're excited about what has happened. They don't get this history in school. They get Black History Month, for a minute, as you know, but it's important for them to know that history is in their family as well. And she has started that bandwagon. I hope that it keeps going.